Hello everyone, this is Grace. It is October the 5th, 2023, and we are continuing our study on the tithe. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at Jacob and his promise to pay a tithe or a tenth to God. So let's take a look at this. And Jacob vowed a vow saying, if God will be with me and will keep me in this way that I go, and will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, so that I come again to my father's house in peace, then shall the Lord be my God. And this stone which I have set for a pillar shall be God's house, and of all that thou shalt give me, I will surely give the tenth unto thee. Now, this sets forth a lesson to us about the tithe. The tithe is not for the poor. It's not. The tithe is for a man whose basic needs have been met. That's the criteria that's set forth here. Jacob vowed a vow saying, if God will be with me and will keep me in the way that I go, and will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on. You have to have your basic needs met as a man. This does not apply to women. There's a scripture in the Bible. Hold on, I didn't put it in here. Let me see if I can find it. Let's search the Old Testament for, let's see, begging. Here we are. I have been young and now am old, yet have I not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. The man of God is not going to tithe if he doesn't have. The man is the provider. He's the provider and the protector. He's not going to give his last. He's just not going to do it. That's what this is telling us. So, since the tithe is made for man, he would not be able to bless men if he said, give your last. Their basic needs have to be met first. And when their basic needs are met, if they're a tither, if they give honestly, then the Lord provides for them because he wants to bless them. Now, we're always going to have the poor, but that doesn't mean you have to be in a desperate situation, the way that they keep trying to put the Levites into, where he's begging for food from house to house. No, that's not the way it works. Over and over, you see examples of rich men giving, rich men giving. Rich men don't give and they're supposed to give. The rich don't give and they're supposed to give. The rich man gives. The rich man tithes. The rich man pays. You don't see that with the poor man. It goes through a great deal of trouble to note that it's a rich man that's doing these things. The Bible does. In all of the illustrations. Now, if I'm missing something about a poor man, I'm open to it. I did this. These studies were pretty easy to put together. No, they weren't easy. They were not easy. But they were a lot easier than normal because you all have all of the scriptures. You gave them to me. You gave me the scriptures. All I had to do was try and unbrainwash you from some of the lies. That's the only reason why I did this study. The scriptures alone were not going to help you because you already have them all. But you're so offended by the con artists being in this game to get money that you just pushed back way too hard, and you're missing a blessing because of it. You're missing a blessing because of it. This is putting forth a stipulation for the men only. Men who are the providers do not tithe when they're poor and their basic needs are not met. This does not apply to women. We're going to do a separate study about the widow's mite. But I'm just going to read through it quickly here just to show you it does not apply to women. We are supposed to give no matter what. And before you say no, I just want you to think about how many parables there are about rich men, poor men, this man, that man, men. And then you come here and you see the widow. And then you have an opportunity here, a clear opportunity for him to have a poor man give, and he replaces it with a woman. It's different for a woman. I've thought about it. I've gone over and over it in my mind. When I read this story, I am not at all offended by the Pharisees. They don't bother me at all. They're third characters. They're background characters in this scenario. I see the woman and I admire the woman. Now, I don't know what you see as a man, but all I see is a wonderful woman who I can admire. Let me read the story. Let me read the scriptures. And he looked up and saw the rich men casting their gifts into the treasury. And he saw also a certain poor woman casting in thither 2 mites. And he said, of a truth I say unto you, that this poor widow has cast in more than they all. For all these have of their abundance cast into the offerings of God. But she of her penury, poverty of her last, has cast in all the living that she had. When I was looking at the videos about not tithing, the men constantly kept pointing out that the Pharisees should have been helping her as a widow. And that's the truth. They should have been helping her as a widow. But the story isn't about her. The story isn't about them. The story is about the widow. She's the topic. And I admire her for giving all that she has. Jesus could have said something. Oh, well, I'm going to go over this separately, so I'm not going to go over it now. My point is that you have men throughout the Bible in the parables, and they constantly use a rich man to talk about tithing, a rich man to talk about offering, a rich man to talk about giving. The one opportunity that they had to have a poor man give, whether it be an offering, whether it be a tithe, whether it be anything, they chose a woman. Why? Because it doesn't apply to women. We're not the providers. It doesn't affect us in the same way that it affects you. You are required to give as a woman. You are required to give your tithe. If you can show me another story that opposes the stories that I've come across, okay, fine. Like I said, I'm looking at the scriptures that were given to me. And of course, I did my own research and I had to add to it. But I could have easily have missed something, but I saw nothing. All I saw over and over were rich men and then one poor woman who literally had nothing. Oh, I keep wanting to go off into the story. But let's go back because, hold on, I think that only had the 2 scriptures. Yeah. So this is a standard that is set up for the tithe, because he said these needs had to be met in order for me to give. We know we cannot trust. Hold on. We're going to go through the other scriptures as well in Numbers 18 and Leviticus 27. We're going to look at those. And you'll see that those are riddled with contradictions as well. Contradictions through and through. Rarely saying anything at all about the tithe, by the way. So we have to look at the pictures. And the picture has a criteria set forth. We don't just throw it out. What's the point of having it here? If it's not supposed to be a lesson, it's a lesson. Just like Abraham giving money was a lesson. The criteria set forth here by Jacob is a lesson. Because you cannot trust. Levi is more, the first 8 books of the first 8 books of Leviticus that we read was, I want to say it was more lies than it was truth, but at best 50-50. 50% lies, 50% truth. At best. At best. We have to look at the illustrations. Criteria for men is that your basic needs must be met before you tithe. It does not apply to women. If I'm wrong, leave me a scripture. I mean, don't leave it if you don't want to end up on a list somewhere, because they're probably watching me by now. I know they are. I'm not even a probably. Okay, but anyway, I'll leave it at that. And I will talk to you more about tithing in the next video.